What's up, you guys? It's Levi here. Welcome to the Cybersecurity Education Channel. So about a month ago, I talked about the top 5 cybersecurity threats of 2019. At some point in that video, I told you guys I was going to do an in-depth discussion on each of the topics inside of that video, and I always keep my promises. So today I'm going to be talking about one of those topics in that video, and I will be talking about data breaches. This video will be super important to everyone, especially people in the United States, because if you're from the United States, there's almost a 100% chance that you have been involved in a data breach, even if you're saying,
"Well, Levi, I don't use the internet. How could I be involved in a data breach?"
Well, if you're an American, there's a 99% chance you probably have a credit score. And guess what? Equifax, one of the 3 major credit bureaus that keeps track of all of the credit scores, had a breach back in 2017. 143 million people's information was compromised in that breach. So you are likely to be involved in a data breach, whether you use the internet or not. Also, if you use a credit card or anything like that, or a debit card at a retailer, several retailers have been hacked all over the country, and so your credit card information has likely been hacked at some point in time, or information about you from those. So this video will be super important to pretty much everybody, because almost everybody has been involved in a data breach. So today I'm going to be talking about 4 things in this video. I'm going to be talking about what data breaches are, included under there, how they happen. I'm going to talk about why data breaches are so bad. I'm going to give 3 real-world examples of 3 of the top 5 data breaches of all time. And then I'm going to talk about, most importantly, how to protect yourself from a data breach. So make sure you stick to the end, because that's the most important thing. And included in that section is going to be how you guys can determine if you're involved in a data breach, and then what to do if you're involved in a data breach. So hope you guys enjoy this content. Let's go ahead and get started. So what? I can't hear you. Oh, no, not that type of what. So what is a data breach? Basically, a data breach is when information is released to an unauthorized party, or generally to the public. It's information that shouldn't be with that party, or it shouldn't be publicly available. So how does this happen? How does this information get released? Well, the number one cause recently is hackers breaking into web servers, into databases that have vulnerabilities on them that weren't patched, or have poor security practices, like not putting a password on the website or the database or file shares, so that somebody can go and scan the internet and see all the files publicly available, and without even having to enter a password to see them, which unfortunately seems to happen a lot for a lot of major companies. And we'll be talking about that in the real world coming up later. The number 2 thing that can happen where this information gets released is an insider that has access to the information releases that because they're mad at the organization, or they want to try to profit off of that information. And then the number 3 thing is like a managed service provider or a third party has access to that company's information. They get hacked, and then the hacker is able to propagate through their network to another organization that they're helping, and then that organization gets hacked. This happened in the Target breach a couple of years back. So you guys might be asking,
"Well, Levi, why are data breaches so bad?"
Some of the reason that data breaches are so bad, in a data breach, the information can be used to hijack your accounts online. A lot of the data breaches have passwords, account recovery questions, things like that, that can allow somebody with that information to break into your accounts. It can allow people to open financial accounts, because a lot of the data breaches will have social security numbers. They'll have your date of birth, your address, phone number, information like that is all that's needed to open financial accounts. It can be used to leak private info, such as your health information. Like if you have a bad, terrible disease or something like that, and you don't want people to know about it, that information could suddenly become publicly available. And that can be used against you. People might want to stay away from you, or you could be denied a job or something like that. It can be used to leak corporate secrets and steal intellectual property from a corporation. Like let's say a pharmaceutical company had all this research and stuff on a big drug that they were going to produce, like something that would cure cancer or something like that, and they had a data breach and all that information was then publicly available, then their competitors could go and steal that information and make that product, and then that pharmaceutical company would lose a ton of money that they invested in the research, because a competitor could go and use that, make that product and sell it before them, and that could cost them a lot of money. The same thing with like a company that's making movies or music. If they had all the content created and somebody goes and breaches them and puts that information out publicly available, they're going to lose money because it's not going to be new anymore and it's not going to be worth as much to people. So it can be a big deal for corporations, affecting them, affecting the business. And it can affect them legally too if there's information that comes out about the company that was private, that was potentially illegal, or if they're being sued and that information could help whoever is suing them. So it can be a big deal for organizations to have data breaches against them. And then also the last thing is fraud. So, you know, your social security number, name, address, things like that can be used where somebody can file a tax report under your name, things like that. If your name's McLovin and somebody steals your identity, you wouldn't want somebody to pretend to be you, right? Just kidding. I did see an article somewhere where somewhere in the country somebody pretended to be McLovin and got arrested for it. I thought it was pretty hilarious. You guys should go check it out. If I can find it, I'll post a link down in the description. So now I'll talk about 3 real world examples based off the top 5 data breaches of all time as of 2019. I'm getting this information from CNBC.com. I'll post a link down in the description, so if you guys want to see more, go ahead and check it out. So the first one I'll talk about is the top data breach of all time as of this video, and it is Yahoo! More than likely, if you're over the age of 25, you probably used this service before. If you're under the age of 25, you're probably like, what the heck is Yahoo? The incident happened in August of 2013. Names, emails, and easy to crack passwords. They were encrypted, but not very good. So basically, all of the passwords involved in these 3 billion accounts are publicly available. And not only did it happen in 2013, in 2014 they had another incident that impacted 500 million accounts. So not quite as much as 3 billion, but still a significant number, almost enough to reach the top 5 incidents of all time, all with one company. So it's a pretty poor security by Yahoo. And then that 2014 incident, names, phone numbers, dates of birth, passwords that also probably weren't encrypted very well. If they didn't do it very well in 2013, they probably didn't do it very well in 2014. And then security questions that were used to be able to, that somebody could use to be able to answer and get in your account, even if the passwords were secure. So definitely a bad thing. And with this incident, because there's 3 billion accounts that were affected, there's 3 billion different passwords out there for people to analyze and compare and make it easier to break into accounts. So that's kind of the big one here. Because there's such a big volume of accounts, there's a lot of analysis that can happen on all of these accounts to help make it easier to break in to people's accounts on other sites, even if they change their password on Yahoo. So that's kind of the thing to take away from that one. All right, so the number 2 data breach that we're going to talk about, and it's actually the second largest data breach of all time, is from the First American Financial Corporation. And basically, for those of you that don't know, and I didn't know this either, it's a title insurance company. It's one of the larger title insurance companies in the United States. So when somebody sells or buys a home, they want to have title insurance, and they'll use a company such as this to help protect themselves from getting sued for not having proper title, whatever, titleage. We'll just use that word. That sounds good. Titleage, right? All right, so 885 million users are impacted, so not quite the 3 billion with a B, but still a substantial amount of people. America has 300 plus million people, and there's 885 million records involved, so that's quite a bit of records. And if I said people, I mean records here. So 885 million records. Things that were impacted were social security numbers, wire transactions, bank account details, and mortgage paperwork. Maybe if Donald Trump had made a transaction, you could see his bank account details in this if somebody was able to find that information. So maybe data breaches aren't such a bad thing. Just kidding. The interesting thing about this situation is this was publicly accessible on a web server. There was no password to access all of this information. Basically, anybody that did a search on the internet and was able to hit that web server could pull all of that information off of there. So yeah, it was a pretty big mess up by the security team there, because you didn't even have to hack into the server. As long as you found the address to the server, you had all that information. So any average common Joe like you guys could go and see that information as long as you knew the link. So if you're part of an IT security team or a server administrator or something like that, make sure that you're securing your sites, because you don't want this to happen. It makes you look bad and people get fired. Unfortunately, the situation happens quite a bit where databases are exposed to the internet and didn't have a password on them because the security was set wrong. And it's happened with several large companies. All right, and finally, the last of the 3 data breaches that we'll talk about today is the Marriott Starwood data breach. So the Marriott Starwood division of Marriott, which is a hotel chain, had their hotel reservation system hacked. 500 million records were impacted in this situation. Names, addresses, email addresses, passport numbers, date of birth, gender, loyalty program info, reservation info, potentially information that could be used to create a fake passport if they had passport pictures, or if they had pictures of people in their loyalty program or something like that. If not, somebody could go find a picture online too. So yeah, passport numbers could be a big deal because you don't want somebody to be able to fake a passport number in your name. And yeah, this basically impacted all of the Marriott Starwood hotels, so not a good thing. As you can see from all of these examples, we have a hotel here, we had a major financial company, and then we also had a major website that were involved. So it can data breaches can happen to any company, they can happen anywhere in the world, and they can happen to any size of company. There's thousands and thousands of examples that I didn't even show to you guys, but data breaches happen all the time. Just a quick stat from breachliveindex.com so you can see how often data breach information is stolen. 14.7 billion records have been stolen since 2013, 5.9 million a day, 246,000 plus an hour, 4,116 every minute, and 69 every second. So just for the length of this video, so far, there's been thousands and thousands of data breach records that have been stolen. So this just tells you the scale of how bad these data breaches are. All right, and finally, how do you guys protect yourselves if you're involved in a data breach? Well, first, you have to know, how do you know if you're involved in a data breach? So, a lot of times you'll find out in the news, but you can get a letter, you can get an email, you can get a phone call. You got to be careful with the letter, the email, and the phone call situation, because there's a lot of fraud that's committed, especially like the major data breach cases. because then they try to scam you into trying to click on a link so that you'll actually give out the very information that would have been stolen in that breach, or you give out account information or something like that. So you gotta be careful with that. Or talking to them on the phone, you might give out too much information about yourself. And my suggestion is, if you get a letter, if you get an email, if you get a phone call, hang up the phone. Make sure you ignore whatever method that those things tell you to contact, and contact the company that's involved directly. Go to their website and look up the phone number, or from the news articles that you see, call whatever number is associated, email whatever email address is associated, but don't listen to the information that's involved in the emails, the phone calls, or the letters that you might be getting, because they could be a fraud. The next thing I would suggest is haveibeenpwned.com. I'll put a link down in the description. Basically, you can go ahead and put your email address inside of there, and you'll get alerts based on if your email account hasn't been involved in a data breach. And not only will you get new alerts, but you can go back and see what other data breaches your account has been involved in. So that's a very, very good resource to have. The next thing that you can do is you can sign up for credit monitoring. And if you're involved in a major data breach, or a data breach in a relevantly big company, you'll probably get offered this for free. You can go to one of the 3 credit bureaus to sign up for it. I'll put some links down in the description so you can check that out. And then I personally use Credit Karma for this because it doesn't cost anything. It'll send you alerts for any credit changes on your account. And not only that, you can check your credit score once a week to see what your credit score is. Creditkarma.com. I'll put that link down in the description as well. And the next thing that you can do is you can manually look at your credit report from each of the 3 credit bureaus once a year at annualcreditreport.com. I'll put that link down in the description. And then finally, you need to make sure to look at your credit card statements to see if you have any fraudulent transactions that are being put on there that you didn't make yourself, which can help alert you to a data breach, because your credit card could have been involved in a data breach, and that's what allowed somebody to be able to use your card to purchase things that you didn't buy. So you know that you've been involved in a data breach. So what do you do now? The first thing that you can do is you can set up a fraud alert, or you can set up a credit freeze, and all 3 of these things are provided by the major credit providers. I'll put links down in the description below. But basically, you go to the 3 major credit providers' website to set these up. And a fraud alert, it basically tells anybody that you're applying credit for, or somebody else that's applying credit on your behalf, that you're a potential fraud victim, and they need to have more verification to be able to get you that credit. So it makes it harder for somebody else to be able to sign up for credit on your behalf. And then the credit freeze basically makes it so while that freeze is on, you cannot create new accounts. So somebody can't go and create a new account unless you remove that freeze. So those are 2 things that you can do. And then change your password. As soon as you know that you're involved in a breach, you definitely want to change your password for that breach if it's a account, so that way somebody can't get into your account. Same thing with like your credit or debit card. If they've been involved in the breach, you want to make sure you get that changed out. And most of the time, the credit or debit card provider will automatically do that for you. If they don't, you want to notify them that you want a new card. And then finally, the most important thing, use a password manager. I've talked about this in several videos. You absolutely should use a password manager, because you want a different password on every website, because there's so many breaches that go on out there. And if you're using the same password for every website, it only takes your password to get involved in one breach, and then somebody can easily take that and use that for all of your other accounts on the same email address. So make sure that you're using a password manager. If you're not sure how to use one, leave a comment down below. I would be glad to help you or answer any questions about that. That's the most important thing that you can do. If you're going to do anything after watching this video, go get a password manager set up and learn how to use one. Otherwise, I'm gonna kick your butt for not listening to me. I hope this content was beneficial to you guys. If you like this content, go ahead and smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. All those actions help promote my content up in the YouTube algorithm to help more people like you be more secure and to not have crappy security things happen to them. And if they do happen to them, it reduces how bad the incident is for them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.